Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Game Reviews. And we're going to review this time Digimon Survive. Digimon Survive is published by Bandai Namco, and it was developed by Hyde. Came out on July 29th of 2022 on Switch, PS4, PC, and Xbox. And it is a visual novel tactical strategy game. Single player, and basically follows the Digimon. Very similar. If anybody remembers Digimon, I used to like Digimon back in the day. I used to watch the cartoon when it came out. It's very much like Pokemon, but they're digital instead of physical, right? No, it's like NFTs back in the day, right? They were non-fungible Digimon. So basically, yeah, I mean, this is what this game is. It's basically kind of an RPG, kind of visual novel, kind of follows almost like you're watching a cartoon or reading like a manga or something like that. But then you get to, interact with a tactical strategy type of setup. So that's pretty cool. Everybody likes tactical strategy. So we're going to go around and see what everybody thought of this game. Shane, what did you think of Digimon Survive?
Oh, wow. It's kind of a hard one to nail down because this game has a lot going on. I mean, as you try to describe it, there's, real-time strategy, and then you have the art style, then you have the detective work that you have to do and looking around for things, the way it works with the camera, or your cell phone, excuse me. You use it as a camera and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot going on in this game. The first 3.5 hours is just talk, and talk. Then you get to a fight, and then you get another hour and a half of talk. Then it starts rolling into more of what the game actually is, which really made the game better because I was furious after the first 2 hours and not even fighting. Or doing it in the combat or whatever. I mean, not even finding a freaking Pokemon for 2 hours, or Digimon, excuse me. But the game picks up. It's just an extremely slow start. But once you get through a certain point of the game, that's when it picks up. And it was hard to get to that point without losing my mud. I mean, it was really hard. But that said, the combat is fun. The Digimon are fun. I enjoyed the Digimon. I took my nieces and stuff. I took my oldest daughter to the movie when it came out from the original series. I always enjoyed them. I mean, I like the Digimon because they're unlike Pokemon. They'll bitch slap a kid. They don't care. They'll attack the kids. I'm fine with it. I like that. Pokemon never really did that much unless the kid jumped in the way. So I like that, and I like the combat system of it. And then when you're not in the combat, you're searching around. You're looking at basically still images. You click left bumper, right bumper. You look around the room and use your camera. You try to find little things that are hidden because they're digital or whatever you want to call them, and that's pretty cool. But there's a lot of needless things in this game. I think they really could have just had a great game if they just stuck with the real-time strategy and just made all that other stuff just cinematic, just cutscene, watch a little bit of movie, attack, do some battles, a little bit more, movie. I didn't care for the constant still images and, you got a still image and then the character pops in. It's a still image. Sometimes you hear voice acting. Most of the time you don't. And then it just fades away, and another character, oh my God, look behind you. And then the characters don't even look at what they're talking about. It just, those things kind of bothered me a lot. But it's still a good game. It just has a lot of issues getting up to the point of being a good game. But that's all I'm gonna throw out here for now. Pat, what about you, bud? I know I think you're on the same boat.
I missed one key phrase in what this game was supposed to be about. All I read was tactical role playing game. I missed that it's a visual novel because it's a visual novel for sure. They give you a little taste, just a little taste of that combat in the very first few minutes, and then next thing you know, you're watching an animated movie for 3 hours that you're participating in. And when I mean participating in, you're hitting A, while you're advancing the conversation. Because I didn't want to skip all the conversations, because you could fast forward and skip all the conversations, but you're missing what's happening and what they're trying to give you in the backstory of it, So I was a little bit leery of doing that. And they kind of like trickle in a little bit of stuff that you can do along the way. It's not very much. Like Shane pointed out, you eventually get the part where you pull out your camera and you could start inspecting areas with your phone camera and manually moving from one area to the next and talking to the different people and doing that kind of stuff. But it really felt like that they were being very stingy with the sprinkling in the beginning of it, because it was bad. I almost gave up. I was like, is this really what this is going to be? 3 hours later, is this all there is? In the first 3.5 hours, it's like, okay, they put in that very first small tidbit of combat. Then they throw in another small tidbit of combat about 2 hours in. Then you get another one at about 2 hours and 30 minutes in. And then you get another one. And then it's like, okay, and then it's a dry spell for like 30, 45 more minutes. And you get back to the schoolhouse. And then things kind of pick up. But that took way too long to get there. But I missed that this was a visual novel. In my opinion, once you get to the school, it picks up immensely. So if you're not in it for the visual novel, unfortunately, you're going to have to play for 3+ hours, depending on how quickly you want to hit that A button over and over and over to get to the actual parts where you get to do something besides press the conversation buttons over and over and over. And maybe it was just me, but I never could find a button that would advance the conversation automatically, so I could just sit back and read, and not have to sit there and go A. Because you can hit the left and right arrow, but it like fast forwards. It's like too fast to read. And you're not going to watch it and listen to it because it's not in English. It's in Japanese with English subtitles. So, it wasn't translated into English at all. It wasn't dubbed or anything like that. It's just subtitled. So that really kind of got to me. But once you got into the other part, that's the fun part. It turns into a tactical strategy game where you're collecting Digimon and upgrading, and trying to get, as your story progresses, they evolve, and stuff like that. And you're leveling them up. Going out and finding more. Once you get to school, you can go out and find more Digimon to add to your collection and things like that. This game really reminded me, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what the name of it was, but there's a very similar game style that was on Switch not too long ago, where you had to go out in the wild and talk to all the little demons, and you could talk to them, and if you had the right conversational cues, they would join you. You could convince them to join your party. And I forgot what the name of that one was. We reviewed that one.
Shin Megami Tensei 5.
There you go. Shin Megami. And I was like, okay. And it kind of reminds me very much of that style, except for Shin Megami, you can run around and move your character around. And here, everything is still screen. When you're outside of combat, it's all still screen. It's just a screen with some text, and you can kind of move around and pan around the screen and look at different areas, but it's still images outside of the combat with very little like anything. The only, it really feels like an animated episode that you're participating in between the combat situations, because you run into a big baddie and it's a 5-minute, 10-minute mini episode where it talks about the big baddie and does all this stuff and moves on. But overall, if you can get past the first 3 to 4 hours, depending on how quickly you are, how quick you read and everything like that, it's a good game. But for me, it's just way too slow. I almost gave up. I was sitting in my chair going, I'm not ready for this. I'm ready for a nap. I watched Digimon the cartoon as well. I liked it. But I wasn't ready for a cartoon. I was ready for an actual game. What about you, Nick? What did you think of Digimon Survive?
Pretty much the same thing you guys did. Yeah, I mean, the first 2 hours feels like about 2 hours of the game is pretty much just you hitting the A button, like Pat said, and reading. Right, unless you know Japanese, you're going to just be reading the subtitles. And you do have to pay attention, one, for the story, and also you get options where you or opportunities where you make selections, and those selections do have do sway things in various ways. It can sway the biggest thing is it can sway the affinity with those particular characters, which sways how the Digimon that they have cooperate on the battlefield, right? So there's backup commands that basically other Digimon can do, or backup activities, and depending on your affinity with those particular characters, you can then, that greater impulses or sways that affinity on the battlefield for better results, right? When the two same Digimon are fighting side by side. And so when you come up to these situations, you got to make a choice on whether you're not going to go with this character's, decision, which will affect them, or that character's decision, which will affect them. So you got to read, because sometimes there's no wrong answer, but maybe you want to sway your influence towards one of the other characters. So without really reading, which you can hit the button to look at the recap, but without really reading what's been going on, you'd be like, what was the question? That type of situation. So yeah, this game, here's the part that I don't mind visual novels, but here's the part I hate about this game, is that it's a visual novel. Which I know is horrible to say, but it is. The combat, I think, is a lot of fun. It is more of, I think, on a little bit more of a simplistic side of tactical strategy, but it is fun, right? Even though it's simple, they kept it just really complete and good in the sense that it's easy for anybody to pick up and play tactical strategy, where you're not, because some tactical strategies are very involved, and this is really not, right? You have some very basic tactical strategy type tropes, and it's like, okay, cool, you understand those, you can play the game. I think the story is really good. The story is very interesting if you start reading through it. The only problem is getting from A to B, and B being a combat encounter, it takes a long time. There's a lot of still images, like these guys have said. There's a lot of reading each character's lines as they're talking about certain things. And, they always do that Japanese thing where, like, they're going to go to, this happens in anime and stuff like that, where, a group of people are going to go down the hallway, yet they talk about going down the hallway for like 20 minutes and then reassure everybody that they're going down the hallway. And then they all go down the hallway. And it's just like, come on. Yes, we all know. Yeah, we're all, do the whole nod thing. And yeah, are we sure we're going? Yeah, we're going. And it's like, oh my God, just go. So it's that type of thing. You know what I wish it was? I really wish this was just, I wish that instead of still images, it was just and it could be all Japanese voice acted with the subtitles. I wish it would just play out as a Digimon cartoon where I'm not interacting at all. I'm just watching it. And then when it wants me to interact with, like, the schoolyard, like, you get the world map where you can go around, which is really kind of I don't know, stupid way of doing it, I guess. Is all you get is just points on the map that you can select from to go to. And then again, here comes the the still images. But I'd rather those long segments where they're trying to tell a story, I'd rather have those be just the cartoon, like just visual, just have a whole visual animated cartoon section where I'm not doing anything but setting the controller down and watching. And I would have been fine with that. But to have to click through and have to read everybody's thing, and again, with those still images, you're not getting a lot of that action movement going on, right? They got the sound effects and the screen fades and stuff like that, but you're not really seeing a character move from point A to point B. They just kind of happen to be there, right? Or to be over there. Or they're going to move there and they just fades out and now they're there, type of thing. So that kind of sucked. But when it gets to the combat, you're like, all right, this is fun. And then you get to the world map and you're like, cool, I can go to the training grounds and I can get new Digimon. I can talk to them and capture them and bring them in, and I can level them up. And that's all well and good. And then, like, all the combat encounters and the boss fights are all good. And the story seems like it's very interesting. It's just trying to get through the slog of having that visual novel section, which is more than just the beginning. That's hard. It was hard for me to get through that. I was in the same boat as you guys. During the first one, I was like, I was literally just sitting, like, half asleep in my chair, just hitting the A button as I was reading through the thing. Just like, is this ever going to end? Am I going to get to something? Because nothing's happened. We're just talking. So I think it's a good game. If you can get past, or if you like visual novel type games, then I think you're going to love it, right? If you can get past the visual novel part and get to the combat, I think you'll really like that. So it has some good things going for it. It just has some things that might bore a lot of people.
Yeah, I would agree because I think it would play out better as an animated series, like you said, with interactions where it makes you make the choices. Right, you're watching it, then it's like, what choice do you want to make? The red, green, I forget what other color, but changes your affinities with the different types of Digimon. Like you want to say Pokemon, but Digimon out there changes your affinity, and then all that does is whether they interact with you in combat, whether they assist you or buff you or whatever, because you can pep talk your Digimon. They make them get stronger, make them get a little temporary strength buff or, defensive buffs and things like that. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think it makes more sense to do it that way. Digimon, in my opinion, it does not bode well with the type of medium that they decide to do it in, which is that read, press A, because I got really, really bored. And a lot of times I don't mind a story-based game, something that's very story-driven, but I have to have more interaction in it than just hours of reading. Because even when you do get to the first area where things start to pick up, there's a lot of reading and it's a lot of still imagery where you would go, like on the map, all you can do is go to different rooms. So example, in the schoolhouse, you can go to like classroom on the second floor, classroom on the first floor, the kitchen, or the hallways. And it's just like teleports you there. All you do is just pan around the room and look for stuff. So it is a still image that you're just panning around, examining, looking for little secrets and little things like that, and story interacts and things like and story interacts and stuff like that. So it doesn't. In my opinion, the still image thing hurts it because I was extremely bored, very bored the first half of it. I'm like, when am I going to get to play this game? Am I going to get to play this game? And part of it was I should have understood that it was a visual novel, but that's not what I understood about the game before I went into it. I understood it to be a turn-based combat, or like a turn-based combat game. And Nick is right. It's a very simplistic until you get up there in the higher levels. Then you have to strategize a little bit. Like, you get flanking damage bonus and attacking from the rear bonus, and they get the same thing. And pep talks and synergies between Digimons, and then things like that, and evolving that Digimon and things like that basically can help make the combat easier or harder for you as time goes on. Not to mention the kind of elemental affinity that each Digimon has, and different other Digimon that you're fighting may be strong versus that type. So you can bring a whole party of the wrong Digimon in there, and it's like, well, this is gonna suck. It's gonna hurt, and things like that. So it's good, but the intro, whatever they want to call it, the prologue, whatever they're calling that, chapter 1, is rough. And there's no getting around that. You are going to be watching a full length movie and then some while you're playing this, except for you have to be the driving force between and that is the worst part. Find a way to auto traverse text, and it'll be better in my opinion. That way I don't have to keep pushing A, and I can just be ready for the interact, in my opinion. Because I couldn't find a way to just
could do it. I thought you could do it in the options.
No, it's fast forward or only.
Asleep during the tour. Oh, it was only fast forward. Okay.
Yeah, like it tells you that if you want to continue, if you want the combat to go, you could push forward on the D-pad, but that's just like super fast forward speed. You're not reading what they're saying on the screen that fast. At least I can't read that fast. I don't think I'm a slow reader.
Yeah, they definitely could have cut a bunch out at the beginning. I mean, just a bunch, because it took 2 hours just to get to a freaking Pokemon or a Digimon. Damn it, I'm doing it too. But yeah, I think just animating the whole damn thing would, because I could watch 2 hours of Digimon and it would just fly by, especially if it was good. But reading 2 hours of Digimon, I'm not a reader. I think this group knows I'm not a big reader. I have to read a lot at work, and I don't really like to do that, so I don't want to do it at home on my spare time. But if this game is one of those mixed games that what you really like, there's something that just ruins that because you have to go through this just to get to what you like. So I don't know. I feel kind of burned, but I'm with Pat. My fault. I didn't realize the whole visual novel thing, so that's on me. That is on me. But I don't feel that for me as a Digimon fan, I enjoy Digimon. But as a Digimon fan, I'm not built for reading all of that. I am definitely not built for 2 hours of clicking A and reading through and reading through and reading through. That is just too much. It's too much for me. I feel kind of burned on it because I didn't pay attention to that. And that's on me, like I said. But if I'd have known, I definitely would have went into this with a less of an excitement because I was excited to play Digimon. I love Digimon and the shows and all that. So
let's just put it this way: it's an 80-hour plus game, and I guarantee you 65 of it's freaking reading. You know, I mean,
yep.
It has multiple endings if you want to, you know, if there's different routes you can take once you get to, I believe it's chapter 8 I was reading. So once you get to chapter 8, there's some diverging routes you can take. So you can play to get different endings. But yeah, I read that it's 80 to 100 hours to complete all routes, including the challenging elements and content. So that's a long game, and it's probably 2/3 of it's probably reading and following along. I would hope not, because whatever, you know, I mean, I guess it is what it is at that point, you know. I just wish I would have known. But yeah, there's but you can, like, the auto advanced text is too quick. There's no way to slow it down. And then there's a skip text, which you can skip. Like I said, I think it's the opposite D button. Like left or right is the auto advance, but the auto advance is just quick. And then the other one is skip the text. And I'm like, this is just, there's no good in between. I can't control the speed of the text. At least I couldn't find a way to control the speed of the text. So, but you know, I would rather see it, like Nick said, an animated episode. It was just a giant animation show that I just go, okay, it's time for me to pick which decision do I want to make out of this. But that's just me. Overall, it's an okay game, but it's too much of a visual novel for me at this point.
Yep, what's good is good, and what's not good is not good. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good game as far as everything but the visual novel part. And I'm not saying and just as, you know, not to get anybody saying, you know, get the wrong idea. I think the visual novel, the still images are drawn beautifully. Everything looks really great. All the characters are really nicely drawn. The background environments are nicely drawn. Everything's nicely drawn, put together as far as that goes. I think what kills it for me is, you know, and what may have helped is English voiceover, right? This is all Japanese voiceover, which is perfectly fine, but you have to read subtitles, and that's perfectly fine if it were shorter, right? I wouldn't have a problem. But when you're sitting there for at least an hour, it felt like 2 hours. It might have just been an hour, but that long, listening to voiceover and having to read all of that, you know, it's like you're reading a book basically, you know, and making some decisions, but you're basically just reading the whole book. And it's like when you want to play a game, you just want to play. You don't want to have to sit there and constantly read every little piece of dialogue that comes along. But it is what it is. I mean, if you like that type of style of game, I think you like Digimon Survive. And everything else about this, if you can get past it, everything else about Digimon Survive, I really liked. I liked the combat. I liked the story. I thought the story was very interesting. You know, seemed like it was coming together as a very interesting story. And the combat was really cool and fun and engaging. The exploration and stuff wasn't really that. It's really not much of an exploration type of thing, but I do like the different aspects you can do with your Digimon, like evolving, or like you can equip them with stuff that will enhance their properties. You can also have them eat certain foods that will enhance their properties and various things like that. And collecting them, right? That's always a fun, you know, got to catch them all, right? As they say in the Digimon world. That's just but just like Pokemon in that sense, right? It is fun to collect all the Digimon, right? Every time I saw a new one, because there is a training section where it's called the battle section, basically, where you can go down there and you can fight and you can level up your Digimon, and just try out new Digimon, but you can also capture them. So that was fun to see. Like when you click on it, or when you put your mouse or your cursor on it, it would show you what Digimon you're going to fight against. So if I saw one that I didn't have, I was like, oh, I'm going in there to go snag that one. What's a weird thing that they've done in this game, though, I will just add real quick, is the text on certain things, like when it's going to start a battle, it says start bat dot. And it's like, why is it not spelled out? And that happens a lot, not just there. Like with a lot of things are like shrunk down, like various words are just shortened for some reason when they could just be the full thing.
It's because they got tired of typing, because there's a lot to read. Real quick, I do want to ask you guys. The transcription is
quit.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to ask you real quick. Near the beginning, when your group discovers the cherry blossoms, you're talking about the cherry blossoms. This threw me completely off. This is a spoiler, so I'm going to put that out there now. It's just something that's said in the game. It's not really what happens. The one kid, Rio, I think it was named, Roy, whatever, tells the girl, do you know there's dead children, a dead child buried underneath the cherry blossoms? And I was expecting a joke or something else to happen. That was it. They just cut the conversation off right there. There's a dead kid under the cherry tree. That was it. Then they just stopped it right there. And I'm like, no punchline, no nothing. Or, that's just an old wise tale. No, that was just the end of the conversation. I'm busting up laughing. They're going, that is some macabre shit. So just me, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's the old folk tale, they say, about cherry blossoms. There's like someone buried under the cherry blossom, right? That's a cue.
That's a Hanami reference, by the way. That's not just something in the game. Under the cherry trees, dead bodies are buried under the trees. That's how
the blossoms get their color.
That's a Hanami thing. So it's not just something in the game. He was trying to state a fact, or a quote.
Well, the way it was phrased, though, it wasn't that way. It was like, I'm going to impress her by this macabre shit. There's a dead kid in there. It was just the way he said it, that there's a dead child under the tree.
I don't remember him saying child. I thought he said body. I thought he said dead body.
It was a child or body. I know.
I think he said body.
It was.
I don't think he said child.
Reference. I'm pretty sure. Well, I'll have to go back and look. I'll have to replay 45 fucking hours, but I'll play it.
I'm sure somebody's probably played it online. You can look and see.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I did run into one funny thing with the subtitles. There was a subtitle. It was, I can't remember what the sentence said, but there was one part that it had a word that made no sense in the sentence. So clearly that was a flub on the subtitles. It was an extra word that was like, that doesn't complete the sentence. I don't know what's wrong with that. Like, that was just a mess up. It was kind of funny, but it didn't really, I understood what they were trying to say, but it wasn't the right word. But that's the only one I saw. All the other sentences and stuff came together perfectly fine. I guess that's it. Yeah, check out Digimon Survive if you're into the visual novel type games, and if you do like a good strategy game, tactical strategy, this would definitely be up your alley. And if you like Digimon, right? If you like all three of those things, you're gonna love it. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
Digimon. Nope.
Agumon.
All right. Well, let us know down in the comments below if you've played the Digimon Survive game. Let us know if you like it, if you enjoy it, or if you've had issues with it. What did you not like? Do you not like the visual novel aspect as we didn't? And we do like some visual novel games. Check out our Doki Doki review, and you'll see that we do love some visual novels.
Love that game.
But there's just certain ones. I think I don't know. Doki Doki had a lot of reading, but the way it flowed was just so much better. It wasn't as boring as this, even though I think Digimon Survive's story is interesting. It takes too long to get there, right? But let us know down in the comments below. And if you like Digimon, did you watch Digimon as a kid? Do you still watch Digimon today? Let us know down in the comments below. Make sure to like the video and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you made it this far, you might as well hit that subscribe button to support us. But other than that, we'll see you next time.
See ya.